goji berries for good price. How many should I consume daily? I think, as I said before, check Amazon, check eBay, make sure they're organic. I like dragon herbs, goji berries a lot. They're a bit pricier, but they're higher quality. But as far as how many you should consume daily, I recommend like an ounce or something like that daily, like a couple handfuls. Goji berries are amazing. They're like, I would say, if there's like one supplement you were to take for your sexual health, your overall energy, vitality, it would be goji berries. They're amazing. Okay, am I a fan of Panax ginseng, Korean red ginseng? I can't touch red ginseng. It creates way too much heat in my body. If I take it in the morning, I won't be able to sleep that night, so I can't touch red ginseng. But I tend to run a bit hot by nature. I do have American ginseng. That's the only form of ginseng I can take is American ginseng. It's much more cooling, basically. Maca root, yeah, maca root's great. It's a sperm production booster, hormone booster. I take maca regularly. Thoughts on red wine, potential benefits. I don't touch alcohol. I can't do any alcohol. It makes me feel awful. So, I'm sure there's some supposed benefits of drinking a glass of wine or whatever, but I don't touch alcohol personally. Okay, the workshop tomorrow, yes, it will be live. It'll be streaming live, 3 p.m. Pacific time. What crystals do you use that benefit sexual energy? Tangerine quartz is amazing. I've got one, maybe it's in my other room. Tangerine quartz. What's the other one called? Carnelian. Okay, so in general, it's monocropping that's destroying the land. It's not just, the huge dairy and cow industries, yeah, they're destroying the land as well. But so is, the Monsanto monocropping, where you plant one crop, a huge field. I grew up on a farm. I know, what the stuff does to the land. Versus, I forget what the word is, but if everything's grown together, like the cows are in a pasture, eating the grass, their poop fertilizes the earth, natural, everything's like in a system together. That is very good for the planet. So it's not necessarily that it's raising cows and dairy that's the problem. It's anything, monocropping basically is what's destroying the planet. Yes, the cow and the dairy industry does cause a lot of demand for that. So it's really our whole food, supply chain, our way of producing agriculture is what needs to change. Totally agree with that. Will recirculating sexual energy help prevent porn relapse? Definitely. You're starting to create new pathways. Again, when you give your sexual energy a new direction to be expressed in, and a new harmonious pathway, then that starts to become the natural pathway. But when you're looking at porn over and over, you're creating that pathway of sending your sexual energy out to some astral entities, some electronic screen, right? But yeah, sexual circulation is essential. It's not a crystal. This is a raw key. My brother Arcturus Ra in Sedona makes these. Cannabis? What about cannabis? All these lives. They go on my YouTube channel. So if you want to watch the replay, go to my YouTube, and every live I've done is on there. What to do with the sensitive part of the penis? Well, avoid stimulating it too much. The frenulum is the most, so here's the penis, right? This area right here, just beneath the bottom of the glands, the frenulum, that's the most sensitive area. That's what triggers ejaculation. So avoiding stimulating that as much as you can is going to help you last longer. But often the bigger issue here is pelvic floor imbalances, too much tension in the pelvic floor. I'm going to be covering all this in my workshop tomorrow. Do you use cannabis? I used to be a big cannabis user, and I've had it on occasion since then. It has its pros and its cons. Its pros is that It gets you high, you feel great, you feel woo. It can be like a nice shift of consciousness, can bring you like newfound kind of ideas, a different perspective. But the downsides of cannabis are that it affects your hormonal systems. It releases prolactin in men. That's why you kind of feel that hangover the next day and things like that. So it kind of gives you something, but it takes something too. So I definitely don't recommend using it like every day. Yeah, soy plantations. Yeah, I'm not sure what your point is, but soy is not a very healthy thing to eat. So yeah, soy plantations are wrecking stuff for sure. What are your thoughts on prolonged fasting? You have to be careful with fasting. Fasting isn't right for everyone. Some people have serious like heart issues and things like that from fasting, but for some people it works miracles, right? I mean, I meet a lot of these people who are like, they're all about fasting, but they look like, they're like 130 pounds. They look extremely malnourished. So like, anything in extreme is harmful. So it's like, everything in balance, right? What do you think about performance anxiety? It's a common issue for men. And to overcome this, train sexual kung fu, train to control your sexual energy. That will give you confidence that when you go into, the boxing ring, the bedroom, you feel confident, right? So the remedy to this is practicing sexual kung fu and developing your skill with that. Okay, my hair clay recipe. So yeah, I make my own hair styling product here. I believe I change it up sometimes. Recently, I've been using about equal parts beeswax and coconut oil, virgin unrefined coconut oil, and um, yeah, equal parts beeswax, coconut oil, and then a couple teaspoons of bentonite clay. When will my course be open again? It's opening very soon. I will say that. Many spiritual teachers say that full celibacy will give you the most benefits. What are your reviews on that? Does tantric masturbation or sex reduce benefits? There's a lot of dogma. There's a lot of like religious, sexual suppression in this. In my own experience, I've experienced doing celibate thing and doing the dual cultivation thing. I see more benefits to having having a sexual exchange with someone, right, versus full celibacy. And it depends on the context. If you're getting older or something like that, or you're just like very deep in the spiritual path, you're living in a cave, then yeah, celibacy is great. But if celibacy is something you force upon yourself, like you still have sexual urges, you have a desire to be in relationships, but you're like, no, I have to be celibate. You're suppressing something, you're repressing something. This is unnatural, you're using force, and it's probably going to cause you issues. A lot of these gurus, these brahmacharya guys, a lot of these, gurus came from India to America, and they're like, oh, yes, I'm pure, I'm fully celibate brahmacharya, but then there's like all these women around them. They're like, oh, I'm in America, anything goes. And they start sleeping with their followers. So a lot of this is simply repression, suppression, right? And they haven't actually developed skill in managing their sexual energy. So a lot of traditions simply avoid dealing with sex entirely. They're like, sex is too sticky, it's too complicated, just don't do it, be celibate, right? So that's kind of my experience and view on it. Are general qigong moves such as the 8 brocades sufficiently effective at circulating sexual energy, or does one's sexual transmutation need to be very deliberate, testicle breathing? Okay, in general, no. Qigong practices alone are not going to circulate your sexual energy. It can help. Sometimes you may have a bit of natural, it will at least create some movement, some flow in your body. It will help to prevent stagnation and things like that. But for sexual circulation, you need a direct sexual qigong practice, right? What do you know about avocado and its direct effect on sexual health? Avocados are great. They're healthy fat. I eat avocados every day. I love them. And they're supposed to be good for your some sexual benefits as well. I wouldn't say they're one of my like sexual superfoods personally, but they're great food for sure. Have you ever had sex on mushrooms? Yeah, actually once. I wasn't like full on peaking though, like high vortex void experience, but Yeah, several years ago I did. How do you deal with the concept of death? Isn't all anxiety tied to death? Yeah, there's a lot of anxiety around death. I mean, that's one of the major controlling factors for us in this world is the fear of death. Oh, this fear of death is right now being used strongly. Everyone's if you don't wear this thing over your face, if you go out in public, you're gonna die. It's like it's a powerful controlling force for people. So then the remedy to that is to overcome your fear of death. When I was in Maui, I lived in Maui several years ago, and I was drowning in the ocean, basically, right? Someone had to pull me out and save me, but I was pretty much like, oh yeah, this is it. I'm dying. My vision kind of started going black, and there was this deep peacefulness, just this deep peace. I'm like, oh, like, okay, I'm going to die. It's all right. It actually feels quite nice. And then, I lived. And since then it's like, okay, death, it's not a big deal. It's one thing that we're all guaranteed to experience, right? So it's like, why fear it, and part of it's all these, religious control systems about you're going to go to hell, not for 10 years, but for an eternity. It's ridiculous. So there's a lot of this fear around death that, again, is used to manipulate and control us. Overcome your fear of death, and, you won't be so easily controlled. What are your thoughts on the big draw, the technique where you press your perineum while ejaculating? This isn't the big draw. This is the $1,000,000 point technique. I think people ask me about this all the time. So you press in the perineum right before you ejaculate to physically block the ejaculation mechanism. It's not a great technique. It's kind of a training tool. It's kind of like a last resort technique, in my opinion. This should not be your main practice. You're still losing energy. You're still having a peak orgasm. You're still, having the refractory period. You lose a bit less, but I don't recommend relying on this technique. It's a training wheel technique. Where to start when looking to learn how to relax? Use the breath. Breath is a powerful tool. You take a deep breath into your belly. As you exhale, feel like everything in your body's melting. It's like you're releasing the tension on the exhale. You can breathe out your mouth. It's a good place to start. How long will it take to do inner body orgasm? It depends. It's a bit of a process, right? Opening up to a new experience of orgasm. And again, a lot of this is not having this expectation of a big, firework, crazy, mind-blowing orgasm, but drawing more awareness to subtle sensations that arise and allowing them to expand through your whole body, allowing yourself to relax, and also understanding that it's going to be different from a peak orgasm. It's not going to be 5 seconds of just like almost overwhelming pleasure, right? It's a little more dispersed in the beginning, but it can start to build up. One-on-one coaching. Right now, I'm only offering one-on-one coaching to graduates of my online course, Multi-Orgasmic Man, because anything I would teach you in one-on-one, in the beginning, you're going to learn there. And I'm pretty limited in my availability right now, so I'm not doing a ton of one-on-one coaching. But again, taking the course is a prerequisite. Okay, acid and alkaline. The alkaline diet, I recommend, I think it's called the alkaline diet myth, but basically the body is self-regulating with its alkalinity. The stomach, for example, the stomach needs a certain amount of acid. You can be too alkaline. If you're too alkaline, you aren't able to digest your food. It can cause spleen issues. I have a friend who got really messed up from the alkaline diet. So again, this comes down to balance. Yin and yang. Listen to your body and knows, when you try to eat from your head, from things you read on papers, things someone told you, versus getting in touch with your body, learning to communicate with your body. It tells you what it needs. It tells you what foods will balance it and not balance it, right? And then you can get into, the diet that's right for you versus, again, getting into the kind of religion around this. Oh, right. So on YouTube, there's a link on the past couple of YouTube videos I've made. There's a link to the workshop. I forgot to add it to this as my live got shut down and I jumped back on here. Link to my workshop I'm doing tomorrow for free. It's in my Instagram bio. It's in some of my previous the recent 2 YouTube videos I posted, it's in the descriptions of those as well. Sharp pain in my perineum. Anything besides reverse Kegels help relax pelvic floor? Well, definitely keep an eye on that. Sharp pain in the perineum is not a good sign. So, maybe see a physician or someone qualified to work with that. But in general, relaxing the pelvic floor. Reverse Kegels are helpful. Sitting on a tennis ball. So you place a tennis ball into the perineum, sit on that, that will loosen it up. Using a prostate massager. I know a lot of men are scared of this. They think it'll make them gay, but this is actually one of the most beneficial tools for releasing pelvic floor tension, because you get very direct feedback of how tense you are down there, right? And deep abdominal breathing, feel the pelvic floor kind of expand as you inhale. That's very helpful as well. Thoughts on royal jelly with ginseng? Oh, these are 2 different things. Royal jelly is an amazing superfood. I take royal jelly often. Ginseng, again, as I said, I can't do red ginseng. Korean ginseng, Chinese ginseng, it's way too heating for me. I can only do American ginseng. It's much more cooling. Okay, crypto. Celsius, I got in at a great time. My investment went up like 50 times what I put in. Celsius, I think Ripple. I've got Celsius, Ripple, Ethereum, Bitcoin, XRP, Litecoin, Chainlink. That's I'm not saying like you should buy those, but that's what I've invested in, and some of them have completely blown up. Is it possible to achieve optimal sexual energy circulation while single? Yes, it is. Red meat causes diabetes, arterial pressure, heart attacks. Would you recommend it? I mean, there's conflicting information on this. And again, this comes down to eating what's right for you. Obviously, you shouldn't eat any. I don't think you should eat nothing but red meat. But for some people, okay, meat is tonifying. It helps build your blood. So if you're really weak, you're anemic, low energy, having a bit of meat, for high quality, pasture raised, humanely raised meats, it can help you, right? Any connection between back pain and semen retention? I mean, there's many factors to back pain. There's a lot of causes to it. So is there a connection? I mean, lower back pain can be caused by deficient kidneys, too much ejaculation. Often you'll find that your legs and your back feel kind of weak after ejaculating. But again, back pain is pretty general, so it's difficult for me to say. What do you think happens after death? I think you wake up. I think you go back to where you came from. It's like, oh, it's kind of like if you ever had a really intense dream and you're just like so sucked in, so drawn in, and then you wake up from the dream like, oh, it's just a dream. I'm pretty sure that's what death is going to be like. I mean, everyone who's had experiences where they were clinically dead and they had like out of body experiences and came back to their bodies, they said it was like the most amazing experience ever. So I think death's going to be awesome. Actually, again, I'm not afraid of it. Biggest secret behind the glow. I live healthy. I live happily. I think that's most important is when you're stressed out all the time, when you're like living your life based on trying to impress others, you're working too much, trying to make money, you're not happy. And your happiness is one of the biggest factors on your health. It's like my parents, they don't have a very healthy diet, but they're almost in their 70s now and they look like 20, 30 years younger than they are. They're pretty healthy. And I think it's because they're happy, balanced people, right? And that's what I think is one of the biggest factors on your overall, your health, your enjoyment of life. But yes, I eat a balanced diet. I drink clean water. I get out in nature. I don't put toxic products in or on my body. I do Qigong. I do meditation. I do semen retention, sexual cultivation, Okay, there's a lot of the plant. Should I eat plants? Okay. Again, diet, it becomes a religion, and is a good example of this. All living things feel pain. Read The Secret Life of Plants. Plants feel pain just as animals do. They're both living things. So, it's just we can't relate to plants as much because we don't have the same type of sensory organs and expressions as they do. But plants, when you chop down a tree, you chop a lettuce to eat, you chop a kale plant, it feels the exact same pain and death as an animal. So it's all the same. It's the exact same thing. It's, it is what it is. We live in a third 3D world where we must consume external energies to survive. But how do you do that with respect, right? Like the Native American tradition and things like that. So that, I don't know. A lot of, honestly, most pasture raised animals I know because I have, my family farms, they raised cows and things like that. Most of them live better lives than humans are living right now. I would rather personally be a pasture raised cow that, yes, gets, slaughtered at the end of its life. I'd rather be that cow than be anyone who's like living inside their, little apartment, watching CNN all day, taking pharmaceutical drugs, like kind of the bigger picture here, right? I don't know. What does your day look like in terms of energy work practices? Yeah, I've got a pretty consistent practice. I get up in the morning, I do an hour qigong, I do 45 minutes to an hour meditation. That's my morning practice. I'll do some various, we could say, energetic procedures throughout the day. And then the evening, I have another formal practice. I'll do about an hour practice. So I'm doing 3 hours of practice throughout the day. Various qigong practices, internal alchemical meditation practices. I do tai chi, xing yi, internal martial arts, various energy cultivating practices. I'll do some breath work. Okay, guys. Just a few more questions here. When circulating sexual energy from the Dantian, is it better for you to get horny before moving it, or can you go through just like that? I'm not exactly sure what practice you're talking about, but it's up to you whether you want to work with aroused sexual energy or unaroused sexual energy. Do I see numbers every day? I'd say pretty much every day I see numbers. I'm not sure if you're talking about like specific numbers, like triple numbers, 1111, things like that. How long should I masturbate daily to train sending semen to the brain or do the microcosmic thing? Well, you're not sending semen to your brain. The semen stays in the balls. It's the energy of the semen that's moving throughout your body. So basically, how long should you spend in a training session working with circulating sexual energy through the body? I would say minimum of 20 minutes to kind of build your endurance, and you'll start to get into higher energy states, higher full body orgasm states. Minimum of 20 minutes. I wouldn't go for, too long, like hours, it could be a bit much, but I don't know, somewhere between 20 minutes and an hour, I think is a pretty good practice session. Is it a goal of yours to attain enlightenment? Yeah, interesting question. What is enlightenment, right? Um, this is a word that gets thrown out a lot. What does it really mean? Enlightenment can often just be a head thing. It's like, okay, I understand everything. I see the truth in everything, right? But I'm still living in a one bedroom apartment in the wrong part of town. There's gang shootings outside my, what I'm trying to say here is there's a difference between having an understanding of the nature of reality, the nature of the universe. There's a difference between that, understanding it, versus being able to have a higher level of causality to where you become one with all things and you're able to affect the material world, right? So it's like whole body enlightenment versus brain head enlightenment, right? And this is kind of the Taoist concept of immortality, where you have such a strong integrity to your energy field, what you cultivate. The Taoists are always talking about this pearl throughout your cultivation practice, qigong, meditation. You're cultivating energy. Every practice session you have, you add another layer of energy, of experience to this pearl. Like pearls are built layer by layer. So when your energy becomes crystallized enough, it starts to become a vessel of its own. As our physical body is a vessel, you crystallize your energy enough. It can outlive you, basically, right? You die instead of just kind of going into unconsciousness, being washed back into the cosmic vacuum. I mean, who really knows what happens when you die? But the theory is that your energy is crystallized enough that you are able to keep creating beyond death, right? I don't know. My point being that enlightenment, what is it you're really trying to seek when you talk about enlightenment? Understanding things, like saying, yes, I understand the theory of all things, but my life still sucks, right? Versus being able to really manifest, really control, really create worlds within yourself. I don't know if that makes sense. Yes, I've had several out of body experiences. Okay, do I do iron shirt qigong? How does it combine with the softer qigong? I used to do iron shirt a lot, but I stopped doing it. It's too forceful, too yang, too kind of more physical based. It wasn't as effective for me in actually cultivating energy. It was just kind of like forcing things around the body, which when you use too much yang qi without having like that yin container for it, the yang qi just kind of disperses, like within a day, the energy just dispersed. So I'm doing a bit more yin practices, creating a yin container in the dantian to really, really feel the energy. And then I can connect with it 24/7, kind of pack my body with it in a more gentle way that doesn't give me insomnia. How do you develop the dantian? I want to feel the fire in my belly. Check out my dantian breathing practice on YouTube, and that is a essential starting point. Okay, the workshop tomorrow. So yeah, free online workshop tomorrow. I'm going to wrap this up. Teaching free male sexual mastery secrets online workshop tomorrow. How to have non-ejaculatory orgasms. How to overcome premature ejaculation. Last for hours in bed. Sign up for that. Instagram. There's a link in my bio. YouTube. There's a link in my last 2 videos I posted. All right, guys, thanks for joining me. I will see some of you tomorrow. Join me for the workshop. It's going to be amazing. It's going to be epic. I'm going to share a lot of, awesome free practices. So take it easy, guys.